Go lay down. Go lay down. Go lay down. Okay. Nope, I'm sitting here. My spot. You got schmutz. Your eye. Yep. Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today we have Yuna. So today I want to talk about a book that I'm really happy that I read it. A couple things to know before I go into why I liked it so much. Oh, okay. Alright, I guess she's here now. I first want to mention that it was a cover buy. I was at a bookstore and I saw it and I was like, oh my gosh, what a super cool cover. So I just bought it. So I didn't know what the story was about. I didn't even see who the author was. I just saw the cover and I wanted to read it. So the book is Vicious by V.E. Schwab, or Victoria Schwab. Let me read the back for you guys real quick though. Victor and Eli started out as college roommates, brilliant, arrogant, lonely boys who recognized the same sharpness and ambition in each other. In their senior year, a shared research interest in adrenaline, near-death experiences, and seemingly supernatural events reveals an intriguing possibility that under the right conditions, someone could develop extraordinary abilities. But when their thesis moves from the academic to the experimental, things go horribly wrong. So, this book is about these two college kids, they're in the like early 20s. They have a research project that they need to do for one of their classes. I think it's like a medical science class or something. And one of them decides that he wants to research extraordinaries, which apparently are a thing, but also not. And they reference Spider-Man and X-Men, so it's kind of like, you know, you're like, okay, so you're putting in like a plausible thing here that the rest of us can relate to as readers. So basically what happens is that they find out, they're like, okay, so if you actually die, but you need to feel the pain, you need to be afraid, you need to have adrenaline in your body, so if you die, but then you come back, then you can become an extraordinary. They end up trying it out, and shit goes wrong, but not in a way that I expected. And I don't want to give any spoilers, but basically, what I thought was really the biggest thing that went wrong is that they didn't realize that when you die, you can lose a part of yourself. And that's something that really resonated with me, because when I was 11 years old, I had a near-death experience. At the time, I didn't think it was a near-death experience. Years later, I then realized that I did die, and I came back. And then I talked to my brother about it, and my brother told me, he was like, yeah, you weren't the same. Like, you weren't the same kid anymore. It was almost like you grew up suddenly. And it didn't click in my head. So Schwab's story on this was not only something that to me was really, like, it hit close to home, but on top of that, so many other things in this book were amazing. As you can see, I have a whole bunch of these like little sticky things here. Every single one of these are a good note. They are a note where I either liked what a character said or I liked what was written. Really, the writing in this book I loved because it was very fast, very minimalist, very fast, and it just kept you wanting to just turn the page and be like, yeah, just tell me the rest of the story, and it did. The chapters are very short, which I loved. They were like, at most, maybe 4 or 5 pages. Some of them were like a page, some of them were 2 pages, and they skip between multiple characters, but in a way where it's just well done, and was so happy that it was done like this because it made it kind of like a thriller. Like my heart was pumping sometimes. I was like, oh, what's gonna happen now? What's gonna happen now? So the characters that I did mention too, I love their relationship, their dynamic, right? So you get this kind of interesting like guardian angel child dynamic. You get this friends for such a long time, but there's this like hatred of their friendship, which is something that I feel like not a lot of authors do, where sometimes friends are so close but they kind of hate each other, right? The characters are deep, the characters are interesting, where they have more to them than is sometimes said or even shown. Like, you can understand things based on the actions that happen, based on the way that they communicate, and I feel this is a very character-driven story, of course, because the plot in itself is quite literally these two friends who end up being enemies just because they have different views, just because their idea of what they are is completely different. And I will say that the one thing I didn't like so much was such a heavy implication of religion in it, which I guess makes sense because, you know, death has a lot to do with religions, people who are afraid of dying, who believe in the good and the evil and, you know, the undead and things like that. So I didn't like it so much, but then at the end it made a lot more sense. Like, I think I didn't like it at first because it seemed kind of overplayed, but then as you go, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, this makes sense now. So yeah, I don't have a lot of bad things to say about this book. I did rate it 5 stars on Goodread. I don't like to rate things so much. Like, I started doing it on Goodreads, but then I was like, you know, it's kind of unfair for me to rate books because someone might love it and another person might not. So I rated it only because, like, I feel like if I'm gonna give it 5 stars, I might as well just give it 5 stars. But from now on, like, I'm gonna avoid really giving, like, actual stars. I'll put, like, my thoughts and opinions in a rating, and I'll leave it at that. So this book was amazing. I saw that it was actually the first book in a series, which I didn't know, and I think she's writing the 3rd one, but the 2nd one is out, so I'm gonna be picking that one up. I really would recommend this book to anyone who wants a story that goes right into the meat of the plot. And honestly, the entire vibe of this story gives me like a black and white comic book kind of vibe because of the action, because of the way the characters are, the way that they are described. And they're not even described that much. It's very minimalistic, but it's so well done. But it really gave me the vibe of, there was this comic book that my parents had called Vargo or something, and I don't know, it gave me the impression of that. I really love this book. If you like darker themed stories, but still humorous, there was still so many jokes in this. I laughed, I cried, I jumped up and down, I yelled at this book from time to time. Yeah, I haven't had these many emotions from a book in a long time. Highly recommend it if you're into the dark topics of things, but still sprinkle a little bit of jokes on top of it. Character-driven, dynamic, fast-paced, kind of thriller mystery-ish. It loses its mystery around, like, I don't know, a 1/3 into the book, a 1/4 into the book, but it's definitely a thriller sci-fi book, and I highly recommend it. I cannot wait to read the next one. I cannot wait to read more from Schwab. I've heard a lot about her, and now I'm just like, yep, I'm definitely gonna do this. So yeah, that is my rant on Vicious. Highly recommend it, and thanks for listening to me rant about it. If you would like to find me on more social media, more platforms, I do stream from time to time on Twitch, which you can find below. I also have a Patreon with added benefits. I also have Instagram, put a bunch of shit on there, so feel free to follow that too. Twitter, I'm trying to get better at it. So yeah, if you like this video, feel free also to click that like button and subscribe if you want to see more from me. Other than that, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye!